Ow, ow, ow! I love me a good werewolf movie, and I wanted to talk about The Howling today, or as it would later be known, uh, the werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom. This is a good werewolf movie, and I'll stress good, though maybe not great. This is a 1981 film, and I have my DVD here, and it has the cool lenticular cover with like the claws coming out and the blood and the screaming, and that's pretty cool. Same year, you may recall, as American Werewolf in London, though I think London came out a little bit earlier, so it kind of beat it to the punch in terms of like modern werewolf resurgence type of movies in the 80s. Um, Definitely like the same type of effects, like the practical effects, since they're becoming so advanced for the time. It was making well use and making kind of bring new life into the werewolf type of movies. It's directed by Joe Dante, who of course would later go on to direct Gremlins. So this was kind of showing how well he could handle a special effects based movie, and that he does. Now, it is kind of hard to talk about The Howling without like giving away major spoilers, because essentially like the whole concept of this movie is based around this twist that we learn in like the last act of the movie. So that's kind of like what makes it so different, I think, and makes it unique. So I'll have to say there's going to be spoilers in this review. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth watching. But I'll give away spoilers because essentially what this movie is about, and like when you think about werewolf movies, you kind of think, the foggy hills, the cursed individual who just can't stop themselves from the full moon coming out and turning into a beast and killing people and all that stuff. Here, it gives a completely kind of different tone to it. Like, instead of like the foggy hills and some faraway, uh, place, basically. It's just in modern times. Movie opens basically in a very creepy way, like shows like static on the TV and kind of warped channels, things like that, and then it opens into basically a red light district where a reporter played by Dee Wallace, she's kind of hunting down a killer who's kind of been corresponding with her, has like a weird little crush on her, and she wants to get a big story, and of course, it's a dangerous part of town. And so to see this whole atmosphere, like these porno theaters up, these neon lights, definitely gives an immediate kind of different atmosphere to the movie. And so after like an experience that's quite traumatizing, she goes out into kind of this small community, this commune, where she just wants to relax with her husband and enjoy nature and things like that. But guess what? This whole little secret society is completely filled with people who are werewolves, and this whole society basically is embracing the werewolf life, embracing the animal within. Like, there's this whole side character of the psychiatrist who's talks about embracing the animal spirit and things like that. So that's essentially what it's about, and I think that's a good concept. It's something that we haven't quite seen before in a werewolf movie like this. So it does play out really well as a mystery, and it's something that's, I would say, different, and I appreciate that. Definitely it is helped by some good acting. Dee Wallace is really good in her role. This movie, I think it came out just a little bit before E.T., so it's kind of like a weird kind of parallel to see, like, the sweet mom in E.T., and then like this lady who's being tortured by werewolves. But I think she's really good in her role, really convincing. She plays the tortured woman very well, but also the determined woman who wants to solve this mystery, wants to figure things out. And she's really good. Kind of like in those dream sequences, we can tell something's bothering her through the whole movie. I think she's really good in the movie. Good cast altogether. Like John Carradine plays her husband, and Slim Pickens is in the movie, and of course, one of the best things about this movie, we have Dick Miller in a small role playing the kind of shopkeeper of the occult shop, who kind of teaches the tricks of the trades of werewolves and things like that. Silver bullets, yeah, I got them all. You think I'm stupid? I don't believe in this stuff. I just sell it. He's great. I love Dick Miller. So he brings like an added bonus to the movie. I think he's really good. And the effects, of course, are really great in this movie. Again, it's like the 1980s, kind of the peak of practical effects. Really well done. And of course, Joe Dante knows that well. This is like nothing. There's a whole bunch of werewolves in this movie, but this is nothing compared to like Gremlins, where he'd like bring that to a whole nother level. So I think it is a really solid werewolf movie. I think it plays with the concept in a way that makes it different, makes it fresh, brings it a modern take, more than some others that we've seen. So I do think it's really something. But I mean, it's not without its problems, I'd say. Though the effects are really good, sometimes it can be a little indulgent in them. Like, there's one scene, like the killer in the movie, the whole subplot with that, he's a werewolf, as we find out. And there's this one scene in the movie, it's the guy from Star Trek, I forget his name, Deep Space Nine, I think. He has this big transformation scene where he's like, I'm going to show you something. And we see him like morphing, and it reaches a point where it's like they are really in love with their own special effects in this movie. So it's like taking a really long time to transform. We're just like, okay, is it done yet? So, I mean, there's that. I mean, good effects are good effects, but the same way you could criticize a movie for indulging in too much CGI, I think maybe this indulged a little bit too much in the practical stuff, where maybe they could have trimmed down that transformation scene a little bit, but that's a minor criticism, and you can't have too much of a good thing, right? So the other effects are not too convincing. Like, there's a scene, one of the most bizarre sex scenes in a movie, where John Carradine, Dee Wallace's wife, is seduced by the hot werewolf lady, who looks kind of like Angelina Jolie a little bit. The actress' name is Elizabeth Brooks, who she brings him by the fire. She turns into a werewolf, and a bizarre sex scene ensues. But then, like, we see like a long shot of like the transforming, and it's like, this is very obviously like an animation. Like, you know that scene in Batman, the first Tim Burton Batman, where we see like that supposedly epic shot of like Batman's cape swooping, you know, on top of the building. But we're like, this is just like animated. It's kind of like that. So there's stuff like that, and maybe the biggest problem with the movie that I have, not so much the effects. The effects are fine, and they are what they are, but maybe a little bit of it has to do with it. It kind of struggles to decide whether it is like a black comedy or something serious, like a serious horror thriller, and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit, because there are moments that are, you know, generally or genuinely creepy in the movie, and helped by some very convincing effects. But other times it gets a little bit jokey, and you're like, well, what's going on here? Like the big scene in the ending, it does kind of amount to like a joke, like a punchline, like essentially Dee Wallace, she comes away from the experience but not untouched, and she is one of the wolf people, and she wants to prove to the world that this is true. And so right on TV, she's turning into a werewolf, which ends up looking like, you know, a cute little puppy werewolf, which is kind of funny. But she's great in that scene, because like, we see her emotion, and like when she turns into the werewolf, like it's shedding a tear, and it's pretty intense. But then she's like shot and killed. Spoilers again. Then everybody watching is on TV is like, wow, great special effects. No, that was real. Ha 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 ha. And then they cut to the very end of the movie, and it's the hot werewolf girl with some guy from town, and she's like, bartender's like, oh, how do you like your burger? And she's like, rare. And that's the end of the movie. And it's like, okay, like, is this supposed to be a comedy? Is it supposed to be horror? Some movies can blend those types of tones better than others. This one, I think it kind of struggles a little bit, because we go through some pretty intense stuff, but at the same time we get some jokey stuff. So I think maybe it doesn't go through that fine line just as well. Like, think about something like American Werewolf in London, which does it so perfectly. I'll tell you for sure, American Werewolf in London is a highly superior werewolf movie. But this definitely has its place. And again, though they can be a little bit indulgent in the effects are awesome. I mean, really, I feel like an asshole kind of criticizing that they overindulge in them. Again, you can't have too much of a good thing, but they're really impressive effects. And I do think ultimately it's a good movie. It's worth watching, and definitely one of, you know, the key werewolf movies from the 80s at least. So yeah, I think it's worth checking out. It's a good movie, and one thing I'll say, one just interesting little tidbit is that the hero character. Once kind of John Carradine is a little bit out of the picture. There's another hero in the movie played by Dennis Dugan, who, if that name sounds familiar, the actor ended up being like the director of like most of Adam Sandler's movies. Like he directed like Happy Gilmore, Anger Management, pretty much almost any Adam Sandler movie. So I think that's kind of interesting. I wonder if they like tease him about like, hey, watch out for werewolves, Dennis. Werewolves. You know, I don't know. Like it's so weird that I guess he was trying to be an actor, but I'll be a director. Whatever. Fine movie, good werewolf movie. Joe Dante's expertise is very apparent here. Good werewolf stuff. Dee Wallace is excellent, and yeah, pretty scary at times, and sometimes it's amusing. It's funny, but it's, I don't know, bringing the two together, it's a little weird. So I'd still give it a pass. Still rightly holds a classic status, I'd say. So that's my review of The Howling, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you like this, give me a comment, rate, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. Keep watching my channel. We're getting into the last 2 weeks of October at this point, so still plenty more to come. Or last week and a half, I guess. Yeah, it's Wednesday today, Wednesday the 21st? I don't know what day it is, but Halloween is coming very soon, so keep an eye out for my channel. More reviews to come. So in the meantime, stay scared, and I'll see you later.